Hi, everybody. How you doing? It's another Monday. Welcome to Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Joining me on the panel is Derek Frisbee from DF Sports and Peter Becker, Pick the Pickle Peppers, Double P. And we're here to... and an angry former member of the panel in the chat room. Oh, people love me, folks. They love me like they love Baker Mayfield, eh? Oh, my goodness. I'm wanted everywhere. I mean, there isn't a party that I don't get invited to, right? We have plenty of things still going on today, and I really wanted to address this in a way that is... I want to talk about what this means to the Cleveland Browns, but there is now all of this media seeking higher moral ground, as I call it, which I find absolutely amazing under the circumstances. And, you know, I feel like Carrie Bradshaw typing on my little computer with the question of the show. And it's like, is it normal for people to expect the NFL to take a higher moral ground? I mean, where have all these people been? And they obviously have been listening to this program, but for God's sakes, what did they think was going to happen? I love this. I don't know whether it's naivete, stupidity, or what it is, but you know, the only thing that matters is money. That is correct. The only thing that matters is money. You figure that out about the NFL after all these years. And it's like, there's the people who are saying, oh, Baker's been wronged. And then there's the people who are saying, the NFL, they've got to suspend Deshaun Watson forever and lock him up and throw the key away. And it's like, because... And I go, well, because of the integrity of the game, and he's a rapist. And I would say this. This is how the show begins.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I research with my hooves. And it's not easy using a mouse with a hoof, you know? But I do it anyway. This story that I'm reading is 5 years old, so you can add many more to this list. But there are 44 NFL players who've been accused of sexual or physical assault. Like this is something new? We have a list of them for you. Ahmad Brooks. I'm just, he was a 49er. Ben Roethlisberger, twice accused of sexual assault. He was a Pittsburgh Steeler. C.J. Spillman, twice accused of sexual assault. He was a 49er. And a 69er. I shouldn't make jokes about this.
That was too easy.
I know. It was just low-hanging fruit. I apologize. Frosty Rucker.
What a name.
I know. It kind of sounds like an ice cream place. Accused of sexual assault in 97 and 2002. Of course, he was a Cincinnati Bengal. Jameis Winston accused of rape. All right. Jermaine Cunningham posted revenge porn of an ex-girlfriend. John Jerry repeatedly sexually harassed teammates in a bullying scandal. I don't even want to know about that. Jordan Hicks accused of rape. I mean, I could just go on. Josh McNary and Julian Edelman accused of touching a woman inappropriately, and he has some of the best hands in the NFL.
Oh, there's another reason.
And low-hanging fruit. Junior Gillette, accused of domestic violence and sexual assault. Mark Sanchez, accused of sexual assault in 2006 for being turned down when he threw a pass at a woman, which would probably be the strongest pass he threw in his career. Parrish Cox, accused of raping and impregnating a woman. He was acquitted. Prince Shembo. I don't even know who that is.
This is quite the group of names.
Yeah, Prince Shembo, accused of sexual assault and accused of killing a dog. I mean, yeah, it just goes on. Richie Incognito, accused of sexual battery with a golf club. Now that, 4. No, wait, the doorbell just rang. 5. Adam Pac-Man Jones, accused of assaulting 5 separate women. Adrian Peterson. We don't have to publicize that any more than it was publicized.
Yeah, we know about that one.
Well, my point is Brandon Marshall, Bruce Miller, Chris Cook, Courtney Upshaw. This is nothing new. Or, you want me to support my case one step further? How about the fact that mystery still abounds in the Ray Lewis case? Do you know that Ray Lewis, they never found the cream-colored suit and outfit that he wore when the crime was committed? I mean, that whole thing is really screwed up.
Well, and even Joe Mixon. It's like all these Browns, well, I shouldn't say Browns fans. They're probably just Oklahoma fans, but saying, oh, screw this. I'm going to go be a Bengals fan. Well, Joe Mixon beat a woman. So
that's right. He broke bones in her face.
Yes.
And there he is on the Bengals, and Bengals fans are going, how could you go after Deshaun Watson? The thing that's amazing about this is that the NFL has never been an arbiter of moral justice. Get over yourselves, folks, and people in the media. Don't try to turn yourselves into saints when you're sinners. Because I'm going to tell you something. I'm a sinner. All right, we're going to get Bronk in here. Hi, Bronk.
Whoa.
I'm a sinner. And the reason I'm a sinner is I can tell you all the things. I want to watch football because this is what I've done since I was young. And I've been podcasting Brown stuff for 19 years. And it's just like, part of what I do. But it's getting, like I keep telling people, it keeps getting harder and harder to support this because there is no moral compass in the league whatsoever. So for people to come out and start becoming these self-righteous moral justice seekers and expecting the NFL to step up, I mean, Ray Lewis is in the goddamn Hall of Fame.
And on TV.
Yeah, I mean, and to the Bengals fans, you just got Lael Collins, for God's sakes. I mean, you can't be serious. This was a guy who in 2015 was a surefire first-round pick who completely fell out of the draft because his name came up in a murder investigation. Murder. It's the big M. You don't mess with the big M. But it's like, well, he didn't do it. So he ended up nobody drafted him. All 7 rounds came and went. Nobody drafted him. The Bengals got him as an undrafted free agent, the Cowboys did. And then, all the fun began. He was suspended for half a season for drug usage. I mean, it's like, oh, let him go. Bring Josh Gordon and keep bringing him back in too. They are not arbiters of moral justice.
And I got news for you. People who you think are the completely innocent and no issues, they've got problems. I know about a couple things from Ohio State with players. It's these people are not to be looked up to, or at least most of them.
Yeah. So, again, what I don't want the show to turn into is a sideshow of a trial or a civil action of 22 people about what happened when I wasn't there, when you weren't there. And I'm seeing, and I hate to pick fights because I don't want to pick fights with people. I'm willing to acknowledge that I'm waiting to see what happens, what kind of case the attorney comes up with, and what the accusations are. I can't even tell you, what he was doing with the women. He was receiving massages. Well, there are massages, and there are massages. And I don't know what the deal was. I really don't. There are places just down the road in Bradenton where, about 10 miles from where I live that are Jack Shacks. Come on. They're all over the place. I mean, Bob Kraft, the owner of an NFL team, was in one of them.
Yep.
And they give you a fucking menu, just like a restaurant. It's like, and it's got prices for each item. I don't know if he was receiving a muscular medical massage from a certified massage therapist, and he decided of his own volition to go for it. He's got big fucking grief. Big fucking grief. And it makes me ill to think that that would be the case. But if it is the case, I'll be off him in a heartbeat. I'm just telling you, but justice is served in the court, not on this show. I can't tell you whether that happened, whether he went in and, it included a little hand job action and he decided to go for more. I don't know the black, the white, and the gray. I'm not a legal eagle. And I don't want people coming on the show tarnishing the reputation of what I've done for 19 years here by going off and screaming and yelling all kinds of things that are just not known. Let the trial, the civil action begin. And let's watch it as it goes. And we'll see what kind of truth there is and what kind of character there is amongst all of the people involved. I do want to point out to you, however, that if you're expecting paragons of virtue and you're looking at the lawyer who is basically defending the 22 women, and take a look at his personal wiki on the internet.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's a shady dude too.
I mean, let me tell you, folks, he's in it for the money. The Browns are in it for the money. Baker Mayfield's in it for the money. Deshaun Watson's in it for the money. Bob Kraft is in it for the money. Jerry Jones is in it for the... Don't use that weak sauce around me. Everybody's in it for the money.
No, the only people who are not in it for the money are us fans who are paying the money. And you for doing this program and us for being on the panel. We're the ones not in it for the money. I mean, if Bob Kraft couldn't get prosecuted when they had film of him allegedly, then makes you wonder, it's not much of a surprise that somebody else didn't get prosecuted with less evidence out there.
Yeah, and it's...
Go ahead. A guy was Tony's asked me, what's the worst case scenario? I can't tell you. I'm not a lawyer.
Who knows?
I do not know the law, and I'm not going to be an ignoramus by putting up things on the internet and be screaming from the highest perch that I can find, I am a sinner. Because if I really, I've talked about it over and over, the men who have died from CTE and are suffering debilitating memory loss and behavioral traits that are violent because of what football causes. The NFL won't even admit to that. There's no moral high ground in the NFL, and I dare say amongst every one of you, along with me, who watch these things, this spectacle called football, we all have something in common. And the players, the guys today who make mega millions of dollars and they know about CTE, it's like, okay, I can accept that. It's the guys who played when I was younger who had no idea what CTE was.
Oh, God, Jim Otto, all those people.
All those guys. and that their bodies and minds were broken, and they had no compensation from the NFL whatsoever. And
not only that, they got kicked in the head for doing it because they got abuse from trying to bring it up.
Yep. And, the league fought it tooth and nail. So they're not an arbiter of justice. I'm not an arbiter of justice. And there are vigilantes who want to burn Deshaun Watson at the stake before the civil action is completed. And there are some of them who will reference them based on the color of their skin, etc. I will have none of that. Not on my show. Ever. Ever. I hope I'm making myself clear about that.
Oh, you are to the people who understand you, Moo. But there's always going to be one person who isn't going to understand you.
And I know how women feel about this, because this has been a problem as far as coming forward and becoming the object. When you come out and say, this guy raped me or he forced me to do this, and you go on trial automatically and your character is immediately put on trial, it becomes a real ugly situation. But I want to say to the women who are posting on Twitter, don't tweet this to the NFL like they give a flying fuck. They have no conscience. They never have had any conscience.
And I don't understand all the people, being the moral police, and I understand you're allowed to have your opinion and whatnot, but why are you coming at the fans? We're not the ones who did this trade. Now, we might say, hey, we're happy to have Deshaun Watson as a football player, but to sit here and call us, terrible people and all that, we didn't sign the dotted line. We didn't give a $230 million guaranteed contract. Don't get mad at us.
I'm not on Twitter. Is that actually happening?
Oh, that's
more than you know.
And from major Browns reporters, Dale Ryder, I heard, I should say, on 92.3 this morning with Carmen and Lima, and he was just like going off about the fans and how I'm paraphrasing, but how dumb we are and horrible people for we didn't make the trade. Deshaun Watson is the quarterback of the football team that we love. Okay. I'm sorry that you don't like it. You have a right to not like it. You can be mad at the Haslams and mad at the front office, but to sit here and be mad at the fans from your position, are you kidding me?
I want to say something else too that has pissed me off personally. There are people who are and were, throughout the years I've been doing this program, really good journalists. Not because I agreed with their opinion all the time. Bill Livingston, formerly of the Cleveland Plain Dealer. And there's a whole generation of people who were, Hal Lebovitz when I was young and in Northeast Ohio.
Russell Snyder.
Yeah. I mean, these were people who did this seriously for a living. And I don't want to hear about this. The Browns are in it all for the money and apologize to Mary Kay Cabot. I'm not apologizing for somebody who's a crummy reporter. I'm sorry. She reports things that aren't true. She was actually saying that, the Browns were going to get Derek Carr. And it's like, no, I mean, I researched that. Everybody knew that would, no, not her. She just left the headline up. She doesn't know.
And she's supposed to be the insider. So, I mean, us as fans, we can speculate. I mean, yeah, I speculated on Derek Carr. I didn't know Devontae Adams was about to get traded. She probably had some knowledge of it. I don't understand the standards here. Right. And then she was on Cowherd's. Go ahead.
Go ahead about her on Cowherd. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say she was on Colin Cowherd's secondary show. It's called The Volume. I'm not plugging it, but he does have a secondary podcast. And she was on there just basically taking a victory lap on Baker and saying that she hated the pick in 2018 and blaming the front office and saying that they were the problem. It's like, okay, in hindsight, sure, we can say that maybe Baker wasn't, the guy. It's unfortunate, but how are you going to go on there now in 2022 when the trade is final and start saying this stuff?
Wow. I mean, that's absolutely clear. Mary Kay has hated Baker Mayfield for the entire time.
Oh, go listen to that
he's
interview.
fought back, though, too. He is like digged her during these. If you watch those like 12-minute post preseason press conferences every year, he used to dig her and Grossi all the time with like dog whistling digs every single time.
It's not a gender related issue. And let me explain something. For all of this moral low ground that the Browns have created, nobody started the Baker Mayfield avalanche more than Mary Kay Cabot.
Correct.
On a personal grudge and vengeance. There's no question about that. And everything that she writes about it is behind a fucking paywall. And don't tell me they're not in it for the money. Don't tell me that people aren't taking advantage of this for their own enterprise. I do this program for 19 years without a fucking cent of funding because I don't want to ask viewers for money. I don't want to ask advertisers, definitely not gambling establishments, not any of it.
The only thing Manscaped as a
and when you were on DSN, that was awkward for you because they tried to control what you were saying and what you were doing and when you wanted to broadcast. So
it was a problem in general. I, wanted to try to get the program out to more people. This is really a homegrown thing. And, tried a number of quasi-national networks and things of that nature. And no, it didn't work out. And I understand from their standpoint, first of all, I'm downright irresponsible. I would make jokes about things that were not funny to those networks.
Yeah, I know it's an FCC thing, but you're more aware than any of us here are put together because you obviously owned radio stations, and
this is not an
FCC. Yeah, this is not an FCC program.
No, but I understand that maybe they listened to the act. They thought it was funny at first, and then all of a sudden it turned
it wasn't.
Turned into shit before their very eyes.
And you could say the chair got flipped upside down.
A bunch of the people from DSN, the thing that's funny about it is that, and I saw that Bruce Drennan is back on 8:50 a.m. in Cleveland.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah, but have a great relationship with Bruce and had, and ended up through the years afterwards, the fall of DSN, a number of the people who were associated with me back and I with them, we still communicate through the internet to this day. It wasn't a personal thing. It was, now Denise Pulverine, she doesn't want to talk to me. And I don't blame her based upon some of the things that I said on DSN. And I'll leave it at that. But again, I'm older, I'm wiser, and I'm not stupid enough now to believe that all of this yelling from rooftops is designed to get viewers and these headlines that are going to try to suck you in to pay money. And what they're saying is rotten. It's rotten low hanging fruit, and it's not worth paying for.
But you know what? The same people that you're seeing come out with this moral high ground stuff right now are going to be the same people whenever Watson does play, and after a couple games when we're looking good, whatever, hopefully we are, they're going to be the same people back on this train like nothing happened. That's what they do. They're trying to avoid the controversy, and they're trying to save themselves.
Right, here's the beauty of it. I mean, there was one article I read that was like up in arms, and it's like, basically what I got out of this whole thing from talking to, to people around the organization is that the reason they did this whole thing with Deshaun Watson is that they were sick of losing and sick of not having a quarterback. It's like, here,
hello,
here. It took you this long, Jimmy. I mean, it's like people in Cleveland have been waiting so long, Wow. The only people who've waited longer are the Christians.
The Detroit Lions.
I mean, to be very honest with you, Cleveland fans are like, God, we're still talking about Otto Graham. It's like,
as a Christian, that's a hilarious joke. I got to give you that.
But no, I'm just saying that, we've all been waiting for a quarterback. And it's like, now, wait a minute. You bought the team 10 years ago in 2012, and you just came to the realization. It's like, that's why we've gone through the 14 quarterbacks. It's like, so,
tired
of course,
picking them.
Yeah, but the fans are going to build it, and they will come. Now, that's not a good line now. I'm not going to use that.
That's a question for you.
Sorry.
Question for you for the panel as well. I'm starting to think that D. Haslam is running this team.
It's entirely possible. I don't know.
Didn't she get the front office fired in the past?
I think she's running the team.
I don't believe anything that I read from the rags, and honestly, I know she wasn't running Flying Pilot J. So, there is some consistency in, hey, let's wreck the league. And Jimmy's like, woo! Kid's an alcoholic. I'm going all in on him. There is a history here, folks.
Yeah.
And, how could anybody have believed Johnny Manziel? Really? That's not exactly a person, although the Republicans would probably nominate him. But besides that, who in the hell is going to believe what a guy with a severe drinking problem who was undersized, I have no idea how that happened.
We let no offense, but we let a homeless man pick Johnny Manziel. What does that say about our organizational structure? Come on. You're yelling about Deshaun Watson, and you're completely okay with Jimmy Haslam walking up to a random man sitting on the corner and say, "Hey, who do you want with our first pick?" "Oh, give me Johnny." He probably didn't even know who Johnny was. He probably saw him win the Heisman. Jeez.
Yeah. So, yes, the fans, build it, and they will come. They will come back to you. They'll love every minute of it when you're a winner. All right? The thing that's unfair about all of this is that Baker Mayfield, through all of this, who allegedly now his last chance at salvation is the Seattle Seahawks. And if anybody has information on that in the chat room, you can bring that up.
Can you update me? Because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, everything. Atlanta went with Marcus Mariota. They turned their franchise into a Marriott.
What?
It's like
Mariota. I didn't even know he was still alive.
Yeah. Their quarterback room right now is Marcus Mariota, Josh Rosen, and Felipe Franks. What a quarterback room.
Felipe.
How mad do they gotta be?
You know how mad I am at Atlanta?
How mad are you at Atlanta?
I'm never going to Home Depot again. Never. I'm never going there. I'm boycotting them.
Jeez. I was I don't know if you'll know what I'm talking about, Moo, but on Twitter they have spaces, right? And it's kind of like a group Zoom thing.
Yes.
And I before the program, I jumped on there because it was a Falcons one, right? They were talking about they're gonna be ready to win in like 2 years, and they would rather have Mariota than I almost said Winston, Watson. And it's like I was on there before Watson was traded? Because at that time it was like, all right, we're out. I'll listen to what the other fans have to say. Oh my gosh, they were slobbering over him and saying how much they can't wait. And it's like now Mariota's your quarterback and you're going to tell me you feel the same way? Come on.
Yeah. I mean, you can, I mean, fans just take the blinders off and look around. And it's like everybody who was in the running for Deshaun Watson, so they got Marcus Mariota, all right, in Atlanta, and the Saints got Jameis Winston again. And it's like,
Winston.
That's like a regurgitated meal. Why? But I mean, and you think that fans are going, I got to get my season tickets now before they're all gone? I don't think so. But by the grace of $230 million went the Browns. Now, what would the fans be saying if we were playing Marcus Mariota or we were playing Jameis Winston? All you'd hear is complaints about that too.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no satisfaction. So what Derek said is absolutely true. There is going to be an end of the tunnel in which whatever debt justice says that Deshaun Watson has to pay, he's going to pay. And he's going to pay out of his pocket. He is going to pay by being kept out of the league for a period of time. All of those things are going to happen. But when push comes to shove, and I'll just say this, if Jacoby Brissett gets the Browns to 3-3 next year and it's a 6-game suspension, you can bet that Game 7, every fan of the Browns and every reporter on the beat and every fucking TV in the country is going to be talking about, oh, this is the first week for Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. And we'll be right on the treadmill again. And I'm not saying this because, this is what I swore. It's the way it is. It's just like the dishonest people in the court system who don't get things right.
Do you notice though that all of the teams that were in the running for Deshaun Watson were not nearly as criticized for even going after him, but because he ended up in Cleveland, now it's like, how could you do this? I mean, if he ended up in Carolina or on the Saints or on the Falcons, they'd be talking about, oh, Deshaun Watson's going home and he's going to fix his image and become this great person. But he decided to go to Cleveland, and it's like, oh, he's the Hitler of the NFL now. These guys.
Let me do the report the way it would be done on social media. Ray Caruth hid out in the trunk of a car, and Deshaun Watson chose Cleveland. We'll be back right after this. I mean, that's kind of, the implication is, well, he's in Siberia now. Good luck. You think you had bad calls before, Cleveland. They're going to late hit this guy until the end of time. So, that's what's going to happen next. I guarantee you the fans who were screaming and yelling today because they're so virtuous are going to be the same people who say, did you see that? Did you see that? That's our quarterback. And they're hitting him late every time and the league's letting him get away with it.
Yeah.
And so that's what will come to pass.
I just wanted to add too, everyone's coming for like the Browns, the Browns, the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons. Like, oh, how could you go after this guy? But people don't understand that there were more teams interested, and they just weren't accepted by Nick Caserio to get a meeting with Deshaun. So everyone's attacking us, but like other teams are interested and couldn't get a meeting. So there's more teams. So it's like, if other teams are doing it, why can't I do it?
Eagles, 49ers.
I've kept Trill Hill's comment up here because it says, what if nobody wants Baker, and what does that say? Well, what spoke loudest to me, Tom Wither is one of the AP guys who posts on Twitter, getting quotes from Austin Hooper, And there were two separate quotes. One was that he never understood why he didn't see the ball more often in Cleveland. He didn't understand it. And it always made him wonder. And then the last thing of the second part of the quote, which really wasn't being talked about much, was all I wanted was to get a chance to do something positive for a team with a good locker room and good guys in it. And that's like, that's really interesting. Basically, Austin Hooper is suggesting that there was a problem in that locker room. Now,
what I would say, Baker guy, keep that in mind. He was all supporting Baker.
So, what I can tell you is this: if there was a rift down the middle of the locker room, then you turn your head this way and you look at Stefanski. What was the second thing they did? The first thing they did was they went out and they threw the entire bank at Deshaun Watson. And they did this intensive research on him. And then it comes out and it's like, no, we were sick of not having a quarterback. And it's like, hey, Mikey, he likes it. I don't understand, except the locker room, there was a problem. That's a problem for Stefanski. And I don't know what the cause was.
Oh my gosh.
But it brings up all kinds of interesting things about whether all of those offsides lined up in the neutral zone things are a sign of a coach who didn't have the attention and the focus of his locker room.
Hey, guess who's getting paid $18 million? Speak about 18.
Who?
Marcus Mariota.
18 mil.
Yep.
For how long?
Hold on. 2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
Wow.
But I think they said something about guarantees. Hold on, I'm gonna have to find it.
Guaranteed that his arm's no better here than it was there. That's the only guarantee.
And he has no receivers to throw to.
I just changed my name in the thing, and I want the phrase due diligence banned from the English lexicon, and I never want to hear it ever again. If somebody tries to say they've done their due diligence, that means they haven't done their due diligence because they just haven't.
But, all of this will make us all wonder, because if Stefanski has a problem keeping a tight locker room, again, I started to say this and I kind of got lost because I had a senior moment, but I'm back in the here and now. The first thing they did is they go after Deshaun Watson. The very next thing they did is they got rid of Stefanski's blue blankie. My blue blankie of security.
Case Keenum.
Case Keenum up there. So you tell him, coach. You tell him, coach. The guy who was in every video, one of the four that was actually in the camera frame. Yeah, you tell him, coach. You tell him, coach. And it's like, he's out of here. Yes, man.
He was basically just a coach / cheerleader.
Mini coach.
Yeah, he was a mini me.
He had less talent than Billy Kilmer right now. I mean, Keenum was just awesome.
Now you're in Buffalo, where it's very cold.
And they just signed another backup quarterback. Did you see that?
Keenum's going to fight for it.
Oh, no.
And if you think Keenum's arm looked bad in Cleveland, just imagine in Buffalo.
Oh. On the shores of the lake. Welcome to the NFL.
Okay, what does Peter Alice in heaven think about all this? Does he have an opinion?
Not yet. It's way too early for that.
I mean,
yeah, that's all. He's making that noise repeatedly. Can you imagine people complaining about batted down passes and Case Keenum and his pass and the wins in Buffalo is going to be. That's what's going to be batting the ball down. Oh my Lord. But yeah, if in fact Stefanski and Baker were not on the same page, and during the post game shows all year, the one thing I did not like about Baker Mayfield, I almost forgot his name because he doesn't matter anymore.
A couple days already forgot him.
Yeah, when the hell was he? He would shake his head constantly. His body language was really bad.
Yeah,
and you would see him, but the way he was doing it is like, why the fuck did he call that play? And of course, I was at home going, why in the fuck did he call that play? So I kind of aligned with Baker Mayfield, but man, he must have pissed a lot of people in that organization off. I mean, if he ends up in Seattle and he has to be the follow-up act to Russell Wilson.
Oh.
It's like,
with a worse offensive line, with a horrible line, a horrible run game.
He'll get killed.
He has to still beat out Drew Lock, though.
If he can't beat out Drew Lock, he might as well just retire.
Did you say beat up or beat out?
Beat out. Win the starting job. They still got Geno Smith there.
He didn't say beat on.
Or beat off.
Baker probably would, though.
Hey, have we had any ass rape references yet today on the program?
Well, I mean, again, this will tell you the depths to which I will research. I looked up the current definition of rape. It's changed over the years. So it's now very different than it was before. I mean, when I was younger, the notion of rape was really a forcible, violent crime. In fact, it was a violent crime. But coercion or doing something when somebody says, no, thank you, that is now rape. So understand that there is no criminal charge in this, but the legal definition of rape is, and it was ridiculous reading the description of it, because, I just wonder how many of us would be in jail today. I mean, seriously. Think of your younger, well, not your younger years, Derek, not when you were 6, but
I was going to say, I don't think I was that bad when I was 6.
No.
Probably wasn't great, but not that bad.
No, there were guys making it with, 15, 16-year-old girls, and they didn't have the say-so, and their parents, would have to sue and all that, but there wasn't all of this in place. Now there is. So I can't answer. It's like, I don't come on here and say I'm knowledgeable about this sort of thing. What I do know is this, is that it has to be taken damn seriously. And I'm afraid that the job of counsel in defending the 22 women is to vilify as much as he can. And I hate to say it, but the attorney for Deshaun Watson will try to vilify the women. And that is the horrible way. It's just like a divorce, folks. Everybody's vilifying everybody. And in most instances, neither person are as bad as they are portrayed. And then you're going to get leaks out of the court of what was said about this woman or this guy or whatever. And that's what you're going to be shaping your opinions on. And just remember, there are only, in civil cases, the people who are hearing this evidence, they're the only ones, and they're vowed to silence. We don't hear all that. We just get the leakage. So,
for a second there, I thought you was going to talk about Jaegering up the females, but no, you're talking about the younger ones.
Yeah, I mean, we just came off of the Bill Cosby thing and, drugging people until they're unconscious. I don't think anybody could come up with an explanation for the, well, you see, Your Honor, my client is really not as attractive in person as he is on television. And Theo just wasn't really confident. So he had to give the women a little help to relax. I mean, there was no way around it. That guy, but you can't compare Deshaun Watson to Bill Cosby. Yet, you can't do that until all the evidence is thrown down. So I hope that, I'm just reading some of the comments in the chat room and, laughing. As far as Baker Mayfield, he's going to be the one who takes the biggest career hit. It was good while it lasted, all the endorsements, the money, and, and it's kind of a shame because he did raise the tide for fortunes in Cleveland football, but he's not going to be remembered in that positive light. And God only knows, he just pissed the wrong people off. And now, go ahead.
Did you hear, and again, I'm not a reporter, I don't know how true this is, but I did see the report come out that Baker was planning on just holding out and sitting and basically trying to force the Browns into a contract, or
that's what they say.
I don't know
now.
how true that is. Yeah.
But, again, woulda, shoulda, coulda. I don't think that anybody, and again, that was coming out of that was the first thing that Mary Kay Cabot jumped on.
Oh, was that her?
Well, maybe it was the second thing she jumped on. I don't know. But
her hairbrush at home.
Low-hanging fruit.
Wow.
Well, look, again, when I keep seeing this stuff and it's not truthful, we think this might be the case. This might have been his strategy. This might have been the thing that he was doing and how he was going to go about. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But you know something? He just had a birthday party and nobody came. Leave him alone.
His wife came.
I don't want to hear about
you
this.
don't even know about that either.
All right. Every player who loves the game of football will go out and play injured. It's the job and the responsibility of the coach to not allow it to happen, to protect the player and the best interests of the team. Yeah, I mean, again, whatever happened last year with Baker happened last year with Baker. We're best to move on. And I'll say this, if Baker ends up in Seattle, that's kind of cool. I want to see how Baker does. And they're on the West Coast. So most of the games are 1:00 games in Cleveland. And except now, if Deshaun Watson comes back and plays, none of the Jacoby Brissett games will be national games, okay? Yeah. But you could bet that the flex schedule will kick in.
And the
Monday
thing
night.
Is, they were. Go ahead, Bronk.
Is there a chance that the NFL might try to completely wash their hands of this entire situation and not even choose to suspend Watson at all?
They couldn't do that. No. I mean, even Roethlisberger, twice accused in separate incidents, got 4 games. All right.
Yeah.
Well, do you think though, because do you think they might be like, oh, he's sat out a whole year and hasn't played, that might be enough for him, or you still think they're going to put the hammer down?
No, I think that they have to do something. And I know that there are people who are guessing at the number. And to guess at the number is just to fart in the wind. I mean, I don't see any real significance in pulling a number out of my ass. I don't know the answer to that.
He's going to be suspended, but the matter is when, because as long as these civil lawsuits come out and he does
going
not settle,
on, right?
He can play. So technically, he could end up this whole season playing and be suspended the year after. It just kind of depends.
Could be suspended for March and April. Who knows? I mean,
or if we look like we're on the verge of making the playoffs, they could come down and throw the ban hammer on him then.
That's my biggest worry is the commissioner exempt list. We haven't seen that with these cases going on, but if there's going to be a first, it's going to happen against us.
Yeah, don't go there. Do I trust that the organization did their due diligence in gathering information about the cases to feel comfortable taking Deshaun Watson. And, no, of course, their due diligence was the same due diligence of let's wreck this league together. I mean, no, I don't think that detail work is Jimmy Haslam's specialty. I mean,
I wonder if they asked the homeless guy on that too. Hey, do you want us to get Deshaun Watson? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, he owned a trucking company, and while he was off gallivanting at the University of Tennessee, playing big time alumnus guy and doing whatever I'm a part-time small percentage guy with the Steelers. He had an office full of his employees who were going off using racial epithets as freely as Brian Holman. Okay, so let's be honest about this. Okay, a cow has teeth. A cow has teeth. The fact of the matter is that no, you convinced me that Jimmy Haslam knew nothing about what his employees were doing. Well, then he's incompetent. Then he's incompetent if he didn't. And if he did, do I think he did a great job of due diligence? The due diligence was need. I'm needy. I have no quarterback. I'm gonna be 1-31 again, and I'm gonna do it without Hugh. And Hugh's gonna come on national television and tell the world. Now you see, it wasn't me, it was him.
He paid me to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a day later coming out and saying, "Oh no, that actually wasn't true." Okay, Hugh. Like, come on.
I think Atlanta might go 1-16 this year. The way they're going, that seems like their plan.
So. All right. So that people understand. I mean, there is some degree of sensitivity. Brian had been on the panel for a long time. Brian has his own opinions. It doesn't make me think any less of Brian as a human being. Of things that we've talked about. It's not like that. I don't hold grudges or hold anger toward that kind of thing whatsoever. It's just something that personally, I draw a line. So we all draw lines in different places. And, so that's really what this whole show is about, is where you draw the line. If you feel like not watching the NFL, I completely understand. If you feel that the Browns have done something that is just morally bankrupt, I understand that. If you believe that Deshaun Watson did something that is morally bankrupt, then that. If you are curious if the women accepted the money from Deshaun after he did these things, and if any of them invited him back, then, I don't know. Well, I hope we find out this, because at least we can make our own decisions up based on reality and not on speculation. I hope that's the case. And, as far as the Browns are concerned, I think if there's any problem in the locker room, you got to straighten that up. And the lingering doubt in my mind is, as I watched it all come down last year, was, I know Baker's hurt, but why is the coach calling predictable plays like this? And why are players like Austin Hooper and like Jarvis Landry so less effective in this scheme than they were in other places that they played? And why couldn't he integrate certain players into the flow of his game plan and scheme? Is the scheme going to be different now? I mean, do you think that the $230 million bought off Deshaun Watson so that he won't be allowed to audibilize? These are the things that go through my mind.
Yeah,
Speaking of,
go ahead.
No, first Derek, and then Peter.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick. The one thing that they said the meetings was a lot of time was spent with Stefanski on an iPad going through the scheme and talking about how they can incorporate RPOs and more of Watson's game from Houston, and kind of merged that with what we do here in Cleveland. So that was good news to me because, like you, Moo, there's no way you go spend $230 million and say, okay, we're gonna put you in a 20-yard Baker box like they did last year.
I hope not. I mean, yeah, and then the question you have, there's questions, and I don't want to point all the finger at Kevin Stefanski. I mean, what if he had to draw this up the way he drew it up because Baker didn't have the ability to improvise? We're going to find all this out because if Baker goes to Seattle, he's going to be running for his life. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Behind that offensive line, he's going to have difficulties. So things in the long run will all work out. We'll figure out what all of this meant. Right now, I just wonder if I see Deshaun Watson when he plays going up to the line of scrimmage and totally audibleizing out loud out of a play into a completely different formation that doesn't result in a run up the middle, I'm going to know everything I need to know. Absolutely. But at this point, if he doesn't give Deshaun Watson, the $230 million man, the option to audibleize, then he's going to have a very short coaching tenure in Cleveland.
Yeah. As he should. This is what I don't understand. Sorry, Peter, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
This is the one thing I don't understand about a certain, person and people who think that Watson sucks. Deshaun Watson, the last time he stepped on a football field, was top 3 in every statistical category on a team in Houston that sucked with no offensive line and no weapons.
No defense.
I mean, yeah, and he hasn't played in a while. Sure, that's fair. But to say that Deshaun Watson sucks, are you kidding me?
Yeah, well. You were going to say something, Peter?
Yeah, it was going to change the subject a little bit, so it's fine that I waited. I was going to say, speaking of Jarvis Landry, this might be a little hot take for me. I know a lot of people want him back, and I was going to ask what you thought about it. Me, personally, I think his time's done, in my opinion. Like, a one-year deal might be fine, but I would rather develop some younger receivers instead of give it to an older guy who's pretty much been injured every year he's been here. But I wanted to hear, would you want to bring back Jarvis Landry?
The funny part of the story was the reporting said that when it appeared to be a done thing that Deshaun was going to Atlanta, that Jarvis Landry allegedly said that he wanted to land in Atlanta with Deshaun Watson. Now, that doesn't mean that he wants to come back to Cleveland with Deshaun Watson, okay? But the fact is that at 30 years of age and being beaten up as much as he's been beaten up, he's not going to get the kind of $15 million money that he was making in the final year of his contract in Cleveland. That's not going to happen for him. So,
can I answer this real quick?
Sure.
So I think there's something that a lot of people are not factoring in, right? You're talking about adding all these wide receivers. So we have Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz. They're going to add either Will Fuller or Jarvis Landry. I'm willing to put anything on the table that you want to bet. One of those guys are going to be in Cleveland. Now, with that being said, you got to factor in the draft. They are still going to draft a wide receiver. So you can say sign all these guys and whatever. They're going to have a spot for the draft. And another thing, just quickly, as far as the draft goes, we will not be using all of those picks. And I'm advocating, if I'm Andrew Berry, because all we have, or I should say, all we gave up for this year's draft, if I'm correct, was the first rounder. Why wouldn't you package some of these picks, move up into the bottom of the first round, and if a JMO falls, if an Olave falls, go get your guy, because then you have him locked up for 5 years, and you know for a fact that guy, if he's the one you like, will be here Deshaun Watson's entire 5-year contract with the Cleveland Browns. Well, none of the guys on our roster.
That is too sensible.
That's right. I mean, but the less you're not going to hear anything from the Browns front office anyway. So they're not going to tell you what they're about and what they're going to do. The one Texan fan who used to call in DG ended up with a massive drinking problem because Deshaun Watson stopped playing and he had to end up looking at God knows who playing quarterback. I mean, being a Texans fan hasn't been easy, but it's been a cakewalk compared to Cleveland. The man, his liver would have exploded out of his body. God only knows if he had been a Browns fan. That's
and I told him because I jumped in because he was talking about Watson, so I jumped in for a second. I told him, I said, Steven, I'm telling you right now, he'll end up in Cleveland. And I mean, this was way before we were out, so yes, it was kind of wishful thinking, but I don't know. He was probably laughing when he found out the news. Then he found out what we gave and was probably furious.
Yeah. And Brian M. here saying Watson's the best quarterback we've had since Kozar, and his talent is probably better. Probably. It's like,
probably.
No.
It's like Bernie was in a walker, dude. He couldn't get out of the backfield.
Brian,
Please,
go on
dude,
YouTube.
I mean, did you ever watch these games?
Go on
he's a
YouTube
bit
and
young.
watch Watson highlights and tell me that they're close in terms of talent.
Bernie was extremely bright, great at picking up secondary coverages, and was a great long ball thrower. And he had a very low interception rate. Deshaun Watson has a low interception rate. And that was why some of the journalists were trying to draw comparisons. But there's no similarity between these two men except that their height was about the same. Kozar was a stork back there and couldn't get out of trouble and didn't have any athletic skills to speak of. And he threw from a gazillion arm slots and was a very accurate thrower. But he took a lot of punishment. His career ended. And to this day, he has permanent damage from the punishment that he took. Deshaun Watson is a stronger, bigger man, faster man, more evasive guy, and brings a much more solid throwing motion than what you would be seeing with Baker Mayfield. The first thing when you see him play, you'll realize that Baker's footwork wasn't quite right. He was throwing off his back foot. His arm slot wasn't quite right all the time. That when he felt pressure coming in, he got happy feet and the ball would sail on him. You'll see the differences once you get to see it with your own two eyes.
And I have it pulled up. The touchdown to interception ratio from the last time Watson played is 33-7, which is tied for third.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. He does not turn the ball over a whole hell of a lot.
No.
I think he probably has just as many fumbles, really, because he did get sacked a lot in Houston. He was on the ground a lot of times, and I think he stayed in the pocket a long time, too. But those are just minor quibbles.
And
I think he had... go ahead.
He's first, so I just want to, since I got it pulled up, I might as well run through it. So in completion percentage, he was third. Pass yards, he was first. Pass yards per attempt, Deshaun was first. Just went over the touchdown to interception, and his passer rating was a 112.4, which was second. So those are all of his stats the last time he was on the field.
Well, the reason you're hearing this, Tony, is because Clowney. It was reported that the $15 million in the restructuring of Amari Cooper's contract was going to be put toward Clowney and perhaps Landry. All right. The other thing is that Fuller, it was insinuated that Fuller was joined at the hip with Deshaun Watson and that he would be coming. And I would tend to believe that Fuller would be coming before Landry. All right.
Yeah.
Clowney, on the other hand, if he has to take a haircut, it's more about money and dollars and cents with him. And I could see him going to the highest bidder, really.
Going to Jerry World.
Yeah, I don't know what his market's going to be because you got to look at Von Miller, and he just got a massive contract from the Bills. So, I mean, would Clowney, what was the offer? 2 years, 24, Was that it,
Wow.
or something similar?
Something similar.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know, again, draft picks are great if the people making the decisions are smart.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of draft picks since 1999, and to be very honest with you, we fucked up so many of them that
Trent Richardson.
I mean, we could just go back
don't
and
start.
just. But we actually
first
got out of
rounder.
Trent Richardson. We got out with our skin somehow.
Yeah.
With a first?
Yeah.
How did we get a first for Trent
Because
Richardson?
somebody was dumber than we were.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, Coach.
again, all the picks in the world, they got our 3 first-round picks in 3 successive years, and that means they're going to have 6 first-round picks. That's wonderful. But if you pick Sam Darnold,
Yeah.
it's over.
You know how we know whether this is going to be a good trade or not? Is that if Houston in 2023 and 2024 end up drafting at 32nd, then we'll know it's a good trade.
Yeah.
And isn't there a Cavs game tonight? I think
There is, and I got to get to that. They're playing LeBron. Yeah, LeBron's coming to Cleveland.
Just past Karl Malone.
Yeah, boy, great basketball player. LeBron James is going to go after the leading scorer in history in the NBA. And he's got some knee effusion, which is some swelling in his knee. He is playing. And boy, I don't want to see him put on a show. We need to win all of these games. And it's a shame that all these headlines are pushing the Cavaliers out of conversation on programs like these. They've won 2 games in a row that they've come back double digits from in the fourth quarter to win. And it's exciting and fun to watch. And I'm going to get there right now, and I'm going to turn it on. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Anyway. So everybody, thank you for joining me in both the chat room and on the panel. And we'll be back again Friday for the next installment of Moohead Radio. And who knows, by then, we might have a defensive end and another receiver. And we just wait as time goes by.
Maybe a D tackle, Akeem Hicks. It's out there.
You just don't know. So everybody, stick with me. Follow me on Twitter. I'm not going to be bold and ridiculous, but I will.
If you want ridiculous, follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have a good balance that way. But yeah, I'll see you all on Friday, and we'll talk more then. And until then, hasta la vista, Pastor. Good night.
Go Mobley.